Hi, this is Sweet Life and I'm Natasha with a recipe for making crab cakes eggs Benedict. With Mother's Day just a week away, you might be looking for something fancy but easy to make for the special mom or moms in your life. Crab cakes, good. Eggs Benedict, great. Put them together and you got a perfect breakfast for Mother's Day, brunch, or just a random weekend when you want a nice breakfast. There are a few steps involved, but this is a great choice for feeding a crowd. I'm doing low carb at present, so I'm using a keto recipe for the crab cakes, but you can certainly swap out my low carb ingredients for regular. I am going to be making some crab cakes to go with my eggs Benedict. It's going to serve as the base instead of using like an English muffin or something like that. We're going to get started by adding some eggs to a bowl. First thing I'm going to do is just to kind of lightly beat them, just to break them up. Add my crab meat using the spatula just to kind of break it up a little bit. I'm going to use some Greek yogurt, and this is plain Greek yogurt. And as I'm going, I'm just going to, give an easy mix to each one of the ingredients that I add. Spicy brown mustard. There goes my mustard. Minced garlic. Mix it in. Kosher salt. I have a thyme. Hot sauce that you like. I've now mixed in parsley. In traditional crab cakes, they typically use breadcrumbs, or you could use like saltine crackers or oyster crackers. Where possible, I try to cut down on carbs and sugars and things like that. In this case, I'm going to add some almond flour to the mix. And so here we go. I'm not going to add all of it. I'm going to mix it together and see, depending on the moisture, whether or not I think I need to add all of it. So far I've added a little bit over half. If you've ever been to like restaurants and they have things like this, sometimes they can they put too much of the filler in. You get a crab cake, but you taste it and it just tastes like bread. You can't really taste the crab. I want just enough of the almond flour to hold it together, but I don't want that to become the dominant flavor, right? I want the crab. It's a crab cake, right? Not an almond flour cake. So that's what I want to have be most forward, the taste of the crab, the texture of the crab. So I'm just adding just enough of the almond flour. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to chill them down, which helps it to bind and to hold together so that hopefully it doesn't fall apart while you're cooking it. So you can certainly go ahead and just put it into the fridge for the hour. Let it sit, let it set up. From there, if you'd like to pan fry it, you certainly can using a mix of oil and butter. But in my case, because I'm making a bit more, and also because I don't really like fried stuff that much, so I prefer baking things to frying it, even pan frying. So in this case, what I'm going to do is, so I've got a pan here that I have just oiled. I'm also going to add just a little bit of melted butter, because I find that sometimes when you put things with oil in the oven, that it can sometimes still stick. All right, and now I'm going to start forming the crab cakes. I'm actually going to moisten my hands first, and I'm going to start just kind of forming them into balls, just so I could try to get them to about even sizes, and then you're not going to adjust from there. And I'm going to start forming them into cakes. So not too big, not too thick, but so you want them all to be roughly the same size, so that way they'll finish in about the same amount of time, and these shouldn't take very long to cook at all. And kind of like with burgers, I'm just gonna take my finger and make a slight indentation in the middle, just to avoid the possibility of it. Like sometimes, burgers can pucker up in the middle. So here we have our crab cakes. They're all nicely formed, but they're very delicate. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take them and put them into the freezer for a little bit. If you have your refrigerator, you can put them in there. That'll be fine. You might just need a little bit longer chilling time, just to kind of help them firm up, to ensure that when they go to cook, that they keep their shape. Now, in this instance where I'm putting it into the oven, I think they won't be quite as difficult to handle and to keep together, because unlike in the pan where you have to take the formed cakes, put them into the pan, flip them over, take them out. In this case here, you're only going to have to flip this once. You're going to let it cool in the pan once it's done. So you're not like handling these delicate crab cakes, putting them in, taking them out, flipping them around and stuff like that. So I feel like they should hold together a little bit better. But these are going to go into the freezer. Like I said, if you have a fridge, you can use that. You just might need a little bit longer cooling time. I am thinking maybe 20 minutes to 30 minutes should be enough, but I'm going to start checking at about the 15-minute mark. I'm not trying to freeze them. I just want to give them a chance to kind of firm up a little bit so that they don't fall apart in the oven. So, fingers crossed. Okay, so here I have my crab cakes, and they have chilled. You can see like they're quite firm now. They hold together quite a bit better than they were before. And so with this, I'm now going to get these into the oven. I've preheated the oven to 400 degrees. I'm going to go ahead and pop these in. But the first thing I'm going to do is actually have a little bit of melted butter that I'm just going to brush over the top of them. That should help them to brown a little bit and also help to keep them moist and avoid them getting dried out in the oven, which shouldn't be much of a major concern, but you know, just to safeguard against it. So now then, here we go. We got just a little bit of melted butter. And this, I'm just going to just lightly brush it over the tops of the crab cakes. You're not trying to like immerse it in butter. It's just like a nice little light touch to, you know, give it like some color as it cooks in the oven. So you might not be able to tell, but yeah, I'll bring it in close. You can see like just how cold the crab cakes are. You see the melted butter went on top of it and immediately started like solidifying. So this is going to go into a nice 400 degree oven, but I'm going to put it in the lower portion of the oven. I don't want the tops of it to brown too quickly. I want to cook it nice and gently. So in we go. And so crab cakes don't really take that long to cook, or they shouldn't. I'm going to leave them in for about 10 minutes or so. I'm going to start checking at like the 8-minute mark and just let it go from there. And as it browns, as it starts to look a bit firm, I'll give maybe a little test and things like that. And at that point, when it looks about done, that's when I'm going to put it out. What I think is the solution is add vinegar to your water. Don't let the water... When the water comes to a boil, turn down the heat so it's at a bare simmer, right? Like barely simmering. As few bubbles as possible in the water, and you want to create that vortex in the water, which helps the egg gather on itself. Getting closer. You can see that the egg is like holding together, and the vortex, you can see, is helping to have it like gather around itself. We still have like this one wispy here and around the egg white. Around the egg yolk, but it's getting closer. It's holding together rather than like spreading out as soon as it gets into the pan. Okay, I think we're getting there. So I think that might be the solution. Don't put salt in the water, and then the vortex thing, go ahead and do that because that seems to help. So now I think I finally got it. You can see like the egg is gathered on itself. Spicy brown mustard, salt, hot sauce. And obviously, you can like leave it out if you prefer. Just a few dashes of hot sauce. And just blend this together. Now then, to this, I am going to add my melted butter. That should be enough. Now you can see you've got this nice, creamy hollandaise sauce.
Thanks for tuning in. To ensure you don't miss any episodes, subscribe to the channel, click the notification bell, and check out my Cooking at Home playlist. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you like what you saw, and go ahead and share it on social media.